Okay, so now let's get to the news regarding Bangladesh. So this is the headline, 5 killed and dozens injured in Bangladesh in violent clashes over government jobs quota. This is the news that has come out, and it's important to talk about Bangladesh because Bangladesh is a very important Muslim country. It's an important part of the Ummah. You have so much talent and so many strong, committed Muslims in Bangladesh, mashallah. And they're in a very important part of the world as well, in South Asia. And we really have to be aware of what's happening in Bangladesh. The powers that be know that Bangladesh is this source of potential Islamic revival because you have so many Bengali youth that are committed very strongly to Islam and to traditionalism. And they have been, to a certain extent, resistant to liberalization and secularization. This is a threat. This is a threat to the secular liberal powers. It's also a problem for India. India wants to continue with their fascist BJP party and Modi to crack down on the Muslim minority, to maintain control of occupied Kashmir, and to keep Pakistan in check. So Bangladesh has to be neutralized. Otherwise, India is surrounded by two enemies, Pakistan and Bangladesh. It's harder to neutralize Pakistan. Let's neutralize Bangladesh. And unfortunately, the government of Bangladesh has been too willing to be bought and paid for by Modi's India. And the population of Bangladesh is very aware of this and is not happy about this. These Bengali Muslims are in solidarity with their Indian Muslim brothers, with their Pakistani Muslim brothers, and they are tired of seeing Muslims being trampled by this oppressive fascist government of the BJP in India as well as in Kashmir. So there's been crackdowns from the Bengali government against these Muslim Bengalis, and it erupts from time to time. And I'll go over some of those cases that have happened. So you had, here are some images of this kind of crackdown, but let me give you some details. So what is happening? Basically, what underlies all this is what's called a reservation quota. So there are these government jobs, well-paid government jobs, also university admissions that will be saved, like certain spots reserved for maybe like women, for people with disabilities, and then also for families of freedom fighters. So this is a category. If you're part of a family of freedom fighters that were involved in the 1971 war, then you get this kind of spot reserved for you in government positions. It is very cushy, high paying, high status, and basically 30% of the positions are reserved for the family of freedom fighters. The problem is that these families of freedom fighters, this is something that can very easily be, what's the word for it? You can fake it, basically. You can create false documentation that you are a part of these families of freedom fighters. Because you're rich, you can afford to fabricate and forge those documents and get those high-ranking positions. And this is known. This is known that these documents are being forged, and it's a way basically for the government to reserve a lot of government positions to loyalists, to these well-to-do families who are loyal to the government there. They're going to get a guaranteed spot as opposed to earning it on the basis of merit. So this is like just rank corruption that we see, unfortunately, in many parts of the world. But people are very frustrated and they're tired of it. Many students have been tired of it. So they have protested this quota system. They're saying that this is rigged. This is unacceptable. This corruption is unacceptable. So things were getting heated. And then the prime minister comes out and labels the student protesters as Rajakar. What does Rajakar mean? It basically means like a traitor. You're a traitor, like you're a supporter of Pakistan. Like that's how nationalism is used, obviously, to divide and conquer Muslims. So they're called Rajakar. And this is, a very politically loaded term. It's a very offensive term. And it's used to cancel people, basically, if you have this kind of label. So then some of the students started, just taking that term and proudly saying, yeah, fine, I'm a Rajakar. I don't care. This corruption has to end. And so then what's the next move? The next move of the government is to send in the Chhatra League. The Chhatra League was sent in. What is the Chhatra League? So they're considered to be students, but they're basically thugs. These are paid thugs that are getting paid under the table by the government in order to come and beat any protester, potentially even kill. So they're thugs. They will rape, they will assault, they will commit all kinds of violence against protesters. And the government, they're not officially with the government, but it's kind of like a known secret that they're getting paid and pushed by the government. And this is what happens. The international media will describe what is actually a government crackdown. They'll describe it as, it's a student clash. Students clash over quota system at Jahangir University outside Dhaka in Bangladesh. So this is how the international media covers it, but it's not students. There are students who are protesting, and then there's this Chhatra League, this group of thugs that are being controlled and paid by the government, who are coming with weapons, and they're brutalizing the protesters. And a lot of these governments around the world use this kind of method, because if you have actual army soldiers or you have police in anti-riot gear going with nightsticks and brutalizing protesters, that's bad optics. You have to have this kind of group or league or whatever you want to call it to go and do the dirty work for you. And there are no consequences for these thugs. In the US, we have this similar thing with the Antifa. Antifa is committing all kinds of violence against protesters, against the government, like when it comes to any of the protests over the past 7 or 8 years. Antifa will go as counter-protesters, and they will attack and they will brutalize the protesters. And then the media portrays it as, it's two groups of protesters clashing, when in reality, the police and the government is not going to crack down on any illegality from Antifa or from the Chhatra League. They have free reign to commit all kinds of crimes and violence in order to stifle the protest. So this is a kind of 20th or 21st century method of stifling protest, as opposed to sending your own police or troops on the behalf of the government. You have these quote-unquote student leagues or liberal left-wing leagues or groups like Antifa who will do the dirty work. So here, this is the AP, the Associated Press. These screenshots are from that students clash. So they just describe it as student clash. So this is what's happening in Bangladesh. So this happened yesterday and the day before, and today I think there might have been more violence. So I think more than 5 people have been killed. So yeah, it's just shocking what's happening in Bangladesh. But these are tactics that will be mirrored and implemented throughout the Muslim world. Whenever there's any kind of popular uprising or any kind of Muslim faction that wants to maintain Islamic values, then the liberal secularists will use these types of methods to crack down. So this is unfortunately the situation that we have. And there's a long history of this. So 2013, there was the Shapla Square protests. I think I posted about this as well back in 2013, so over 10 years ago. But another example of crackdown against Islamists, traditional Muslims who protest and Dozens get killed. Some claim hundreds were killed. Hundreds were killed by the government, and it's all swept under the rug. You also had a more recent case. Student in Dhaka was killed for criticizing a water-sharing deal between India and Bangladesh. The brutal murder on the campus of a premier university underlines the growing intolerance in Bangladesh. So it's the government. A student is protesting, like, why is Bangladesh making deals with India that are economically favorable to India, this Hindu extremist party, but at the expense of Muslims in Bangladesh? You say that in Bangladesh and they'll kill you. They'll send a thug to do the job, and they'll claim it was just like intolerance. Then there's the 2021 Bangladesh anti-Modi protests. Basically, Modi was visiting Bangladesh. A lot of people protested that. Why is this Hindu fascist visiting our country, and the red carpet is rolled out for him by the prime minister? Students were protesting. Imams were protesting. Madrasa students were protesting. And then there was a crackdown, and maybe over 1,000 people were killed. 1,000 Muslims. A lot of them were disappeared. Still don't know where they are. They're either killed or they're locked up. This is unfortunately what's happening to our brothers and sisters. So we have to have solidarity with Bengali Muslims. We need to be aware of what's happening in these Muslim countries because they want to divide and conquer us. Like, that's what I want you all to recognize. It's a divide and conquer strategy. They want you to think, well, these are Bengali Muslims. Like, they're Bengali. They have their own issues. Who cares? I care about only what's happening in my country as Muslims. You know, my country, my nationality. This is the wrong mindset. Okay? We have to be concerned with Muslims everywhere. We are one ummah. And it doesn't matter if it's in Palestine, if it's in Bangladesh, if it's in Kashmir, if it's in Tunisia, if it's in Morocco. It doesn't matter. We're all one ummah. We have to be aware of oppression against Muslims everywhere. Because if just like one part of the body hurts, the whole body hurts and aches because of the pain. In the similar way, we ache and we feel pain when our Muslim brothers and sisters are being attacked and assaulted and killed and brutalized by secular powers who want to divide and conquer us. Do not let them win. Do not let them divide and conquer us. Be in solidarity with Muslims around the world.